Welcome to In the Moment with Court Kuzan, where we inform, inspire, and motivate you to be a positive agent of change. Family, it's Fire It Up Friday out there. Let's make sure we're excited and let's make sure we're going into the weekend with a great positive attitude. And let's have an energy to finish this week out right. Family, call into the radio station with your questions or comments at our local number, 318-484-2500, or toll free at 877-464-2500. And you can reach out and follow us all across social media at In the Moment with Courtier Kuzan, and also visit our website at inthemomentwithcourtierkuzan.com. That's In the Moment, KORTIACOUSIN.com. And look, we still have that free gift available for all of you that are following us, so go ahead for the download. And look, I'm excited about this Fire It Up Friday. You know, over the last 2 days, we were trying to finish up the subject matter we were talking about, that there's, an issue as far as like being able to go about with our dreams, okay? How we've been talking about the suicide of a dream. And it's so relevant, so prevalent and everything today, and how many of us, like I said, are just aborting the dreams that God has actually given us, or we try to condense down our dreams. I actually saw something that was like really interesting as far as like social media wise. How I was just telling you about following you on social media, and you remember how I've actually laid out to you that even though some of you listen to the show, okay, it's motivating you, it's equipping you, it's actually propelling you and getting you out there to go ahead in and utilize that seed of greatness that's on the inside of you. I also told you that even though I mentor people, that I actually look towards other individuals to be a mentor towards myself. And it's really interesting in how when I actually checked like our Instagram feed, and I'm noticing that people that have over 100,000 followers and beyond that are actually following things that are going on with the show. Now, I'm not saying that's anything that's great that's going on because of, what I'm doing, but it just bears witness to like what I keep telling anyone. No matter how high you get, no matter how far you progress, you can always find some nutritional information that's actually going to be beneficial to you as an individual or as a group or a company to actually help you progress along and actually, broaden the dream that God has actually given you. Okay. So, as we finished up before we closed on Thriving Thursday yesterday, as we were talking about the suicide of a dream, and we finished up with talking about neglect as it came to a dream, as far as basically just almost kicking your dream to the curb and, not taking any action, not working on your dream, falling into that mindset of, I've got the time, it'll just happen, and, giving more priority to other things that really don't matter instead of giving priority to the thing that's actually going to provide, a great lifestyle and be beneficial not only to you, your family, but to all of those that you've got influence with. And, it's interesting that even with everything that we do, okay, now when we got in certain situations of our life, we've been using, building ourselves up as far as health-wise, spiritually, on the job, maybe starting a business, whatever it may be, okay, whatever that process is that you're in right now, you need to actually remember that to get there, just like thinking about building a house, okay, that you need to remember that, to build a house, it's going to be like brick by brick. And if you don't actually start building that house, then guess what? The house will never get built. Well, it's the same thing for where God's actually taking you as far as in the scope of your dreams, okay? If you don't start, if you don't lay that proper foundation down, okay? If you don't take that first initial step, basically if you don't do anything, if you neglect what God has actually, sown on the inside of you, then it's never going to be made manifest. And as I said before, it amazes me at how often I hear people out there that, if God gave it to me, then he's going to take care of it. Well, it goes back yet again. Faith without works is dead. And, we're not actually securing our salvation or anything like that based upon just doing works. But, if you actually believe what God has actually told you, what God has actually put down on the inside of you, if you believe that still small voice, a lot of us say, something told me to do that, or something warned me about that. If you're actually truly in tune with that still small voice on the inside of you, you're actually going to allow it to guide you along the process of where God is taking you. Now, you can have that voice that's always trying to tell you to do things wrong. I hope we can actually, discern and recognize which voice is for the benefit and which voice is trying to actually bring us down the pathway of destruction. But, don't neglect the dream. Build that house brick by brick. Lay the foundation for that dream brick by brick. And when you turn around and look at it, you're actually going to see a structure that's actually being built. Okay? So we're talking about the suicide of a dream on this Fire It Up Friday. And then, of course, what's the next thing? Doubt. Wow. Doubt is something that you will face, and, I'm not going to say every so often, but if you look, I'm just going to be real with you. Doubt creeps up every single day to where you may start to doubt yourself. You maybe start to doubt your ability. Because time has passed, and a lot of time has passed, you may actually start to doubt the dream that God has actually given you. I mean, doubt will try to manifest itself in so many ways. Look, we all have our bouts with doubt. I mean, we do. We all have our bouts with doubt. But how you actually respond when the doubt comes is actually going to play a key role in how the rest of your day is going to turn out, your month, your year. It's really going to set the stage for how things are actually progressing in your life. So I got a question for you. While you're deciding on whether you're going to call in with your questions or comments, what kind of doubts have you been facing? Why don't you call into the radio station and actually let us know what kind of doubts have you actually been facing? And a lot of people that I've seen lately, like I said, the biggest doubt that we face is doubting ourselves. And it's one of the main things that actually cause so many of us to really never get started. We're talking about the suicide of a dream. Now, I got a tidbit for you before we actually go into break. Think about this. We're talking to you about the suicide of a dream. Now, what if God actually started to abort his dream and had suicide of his dream? And what are you talking about? What if he actually decided not to breathe life into you that you came for? Because what you don't realize is at one point in time, you were a dream. But how he said, I knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb. Guess what? Now you're the manifestation of that dream or that joy that he had on the inside of them. So as you're thinking about that before we go on the break, realize that even in that, God was thinking about you right there in your moment. Welcome back to In the Moment with Cortia Kuzan on this Fire It Up Friday. Family, call into the radio station on our local number, 318-484-2500, or toll free at 877-464-2500 with your questions or comments. And I forgot to give a shout out to Central Louisiana and the surrounding areas. Natchitoches, Gina, Alexandria at 88.1 FM. Monroe, West Monroe on 98.9 FM. Shreveport, Greenwood on 92.5 FM. St. Joseph, Natchitoches, Mississippi on 99.3 FM. And Lake Charles on 100.1 FM. And we're wrapping it up today talking about the suicide of a dream. And, we were touching on having doubt before we went into our first break. And, like I said, it's each and every one of us, to some degree, okay, each and every person to some degree face doubt. And, one of the greatest things that someone ever shared with me, and it was like a promotional manager. I don't really know what the title is, but someone that actually books a well-known person and, their engagements and so on. But it was basically like a lot of the big name motivational speakers that you actually see on stage. This individual actually said that, a lot of people see them on stage and see just how, proficient and well that they address certain subject matter, but it was basically like you don't see them when they're off stage. And I was like, okay, well, where is he going with this? He was like, a lot of people that you see on stage or that you see in front of the camera, it just seems like they've got it all together. But the thing that you don't see when they're off camera is that they go through their own struggles. They have their own things where they've got to try to encourage themselves or try to bounce ideas off people to see, because no matter how high up the scale or how far you progress, everyone is going to have certain levels of battle, or should I say certain battles of doubt that may come upon them. And like I said, each and every one of us deal with it each and every day. And you need to actually be aware of a few things, in this area when it comes to doubt, because if you're not aware of how doubt can actually creep in, then what? It's actually going to take root in your life, and it's going to actually cause you to be paralyzed, and that dream's never going to come to pass in your life. And people are actually one of the ways that, doubt can creep in. Now, look, we're social creatures. God actually made us to be social creatures. We socialize with people, we interact with people, and a lot of times, whether you realize it or not, inadvertently, unintentionally, some people will actually sow those seeds of doubt on the inside of you. And, we've said before, those shoulda, coulda, wouldas, and, they try to give you advice based upon their own life experiences or, things that they've heard, things that they may have seen, and they may not be addressing your situation specifically. And, what I mean by that, as I said, how many times, if you start to share an idea or to bounce an idea off someone, it's almost as if they really can't conceive it or really cannot see it on the inside of them, the first thing that they'll do is they'll latch on to someone that may have had a similar situation of going through a similar circumstance, and they start trying to share with you how it didn't work for them. And a lot of people have good intentions, okay, and they're trying to just basically, I want to say, give you, I guess, a step of just use caution. But a lot of the times in them actually using the approach of concern, they try to tell you why you shouldn't progress, or instead of putting it in the picture of, okay, just use caution, but I believe you should go forward with it, okay? And like I said, those are definitely different seeds that actually cause doubt to creep inside of us. And look, you really need to realize your present circumstances, okay? Your present circumstances actually don't determine where you go. I mean, they merely determine where you start. I mean, did you hear me? Your present circumstances don't determine where you go. They merely determine where you actually start. So you may have adverse, hard circumstances, but the things that are going on in your life right now are where you are, all right? It's not going to determine where you're going to go in this journey called life, okay? It's actually going to help you. And like I said, a lot of you right now, and I've said that, use those adverse circumstances to actually be a springboard that's going to push you forward into what God has in store for you. Now, look, we see all the different things that happen as far as like with the children of Israel when they were in Egypt, when they were in the wilderness, and they got out, they were delivered, and yes, when they got in that wilderness, that generation that passed away, they were a bunch of knuckleheads. Let's just be real about it, okay? They were, as the Bible says, kicking up against the pricks. They wouldn't listen, they wouldn't go forward, and I can actually relate to that, and some of you listening can actually relate to that. It's like God's been trying to instruct you, been trying to guide you along this journey that he wants to go to actually bring you into your promised land. And just like me in the beginning, just because I was used to one way, okay, I had to, for so long, go around my own mountain till God, got these things out of me. But then what ended up happening? What should have been maybe a couple of years turned out it transitioned into being, a couple of decades, all right? Sound familiar? Sound familiar to so many of you right now? How many of us are right now holding on to dreams, holding on to plans, holding on to the different visions and stuff that God has given us, and we know that that it should have been just maybe a few months or maybe a couple of years, and this thing should have came about. But it's like, here we go, 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road, 20 years down the road, and we're still waiting for that manifestation of that dream that God has given us, all right? And some of us right now, in that area of doubt, we may have even tried to abort our own dreams. But, it's a matter of how we look at these things. But like I said before, just realize that the people that we actually socialize with are a key factor to whether we're going to realize if we're going to go forward or if we're going to be held back. And, circumstances are actually, like I said, one of the biggest things that people hold on to. Yeah, I know sometimes it's about health, and sometimes, and many times, I'm going to say 95% of the time, and that's probably higher than that we'll allow circumstances to cause us not to go forward. And the biggest circumstance that we have in our life is always, unfortunately, going to be in the realm of finances. How many right now are listening to me, and because of finances, that we are not moving forward in our life? I mean, look, let me give you a tidbit, okay? Let me help you in your moment right now. God, just like I said, may have put in your spirit to go ahead and begin and go into business. Now, he didn't actually say you were going to have to go into business and have every single thing, bam, done in 1 week, 1 month. It may just be to where, hey, let's go ahead and see exactly how to go about, I don't know, let's get a business plan together. Okay. Then next week or a couple weeks, let's see about trying to get an LLC up, wherever he guides you. And then maybe connecting with certain, distributing companies, whatever it may be, okay? Each and everything is a process. A lot of us get pressured, and I'm talking about myself right now, that when God gives you something, and a lot of times we think we've got to do every single thing right now, and it's got to be done before the end of the week. If God gave me something on Monday, I'm thinking to myself, okay, it's got to be done before this week's over with. I'm going to be all out of his will, and, the enemy tries to come to you and say, oh, you look at that, you're not being faithful, you're not doing what God's called you to do. If you don't do what he's called you to do, he's going to take away the dream that he's given you. Well, guess what? When God puts a seed inside of you, he's not going to be like some gardeners that, may not be able to wait upon the harvest that go to try to dig it up just because they don't see. Well, that's just like it is. If you ever realize anything about like a true farmer in the natural, when they plant a seed, they're not going to go ahead and pluck that seed up after they plant it, okay? They're going to leave it there and let it come forth in its due season. And that's just the same thing with God. Any dream that you have on the inside of you, God's going to allow it to come forth in its due season. But what a lot of us don't realize is that we always say that we're waiting on God, but God is always waiting on us, okay? The plan has already been scripted. The dream, the end result of it has already been, the conclusion's already there. It's just about us doing our portion of what needs to be done to cultivate and watch that dream be made manifest. And, like I said, not everyone's situations are the same. And like I said, finances are one of the key things that's out there. Time is another. I mean, in this instant society, we want it now. I mean, it doesn't happen, especially like if you're trying to lose weight. I mean, man, how many of us think that, I'm going to go to the gym and we don't see the results that we believe that we should have within 2 weeks, and we're like, oh, this isn't working. I mean, I'm wasting my time up in here. All I have is sore muscles. My legs are sore, different parts of my body, and, we're not seeing the results. Well, you know something? It didn't take you 2 weeks to get in the condition that you may be in right now physically. I mean, put that bucket of chicken down. Put those cookies down. I mean, stop eating all those, Oreos and everything else right before bed. It didn't take you 2 weeks to get into that condition. So guess what? It's not going to take you 2 weeks to get out of that condition. It is a process. No matter what you think, that horrible thing that people say, process. And then what comes after the process? Through the process. Work. You got to do it, okay? You got to want it. You got to own it. You got to take it. You got to get into it. And when you find that when you're doing it, when you're going through the process, you are truly in your moment, okay? And definitely out there, some of us right now with those Girl Scout cookies, right now we're in the season of those Girl Scout cookies, those Samoas, and I'm talking to some individuals out there, those Girl Scout cookies, those snacks, let's go ahead and actually, take that energy that we're putting on those cookies and all those snacks that we have out there and put it towards more so working on our dreams that God has given us. And it sounds funny, but hey, sometimes the most simplistic things I actually show you exactly how to go ahead and strive and go towards what God has in store for you. But look, get out your own way. I mean, that's really key. Get out your own way. Stop letting the circumstances, play a part. But then what? The same boiling water that actually softens a potato hardens the egg. But it's actually about how you're actually making things happen and not allowing those circumstances to actually overcome you. Look, you're in your moment right now. Catapult on this moment. You're in Fire It Up Friday, and we'll get right back on it when we come back from the break. Welcome back to In the Moment with Cortia Kuzan on this Fire It Up Friday. Family, call in with those questions and those comments. Look, we had posed a question before about what type of doubts are you facing. We were really here to address those. And like I said, for myself personally, it was a doubt of, going through the struggle of actually being able to succeed in what God's called me to do. But look, the local number, 318-484-2500, or toll free at 877-464-2500. And, finishing up on a topic about the suicide of a dream. And, before we were going in the break, we were talking about the doubt area and then breaking it down into one of the areas that bring about doubt or circumstances. And, a quote that I really want to touch back on that kind of went quickly through right before the break is that, doubt makes you feel like you're in heated up situations, especially when it comes to, your circumstances. And, that doubt that makes you tense, make you feel heated, make you like you're in the boiling water, okay? Now just think about that. That same boiling water that softens a potato hardens the egg. It's about what you're made of and not the circumstance, okay? It's about what you're made of and not the circumstance. Like I said, the pressures of life are actually going to show you what's really on the inside of you. Allow God to use those pressures that come against you to actually show you all the greatness that he's put on the inside of you, okay? Don't allow the enemy to come up to you to make you think that, okay, look at all this stuff that's coming up, against you. Maybe you just need to lie here and get in a fetal position. Maybe you just need to lie here and give up. He's going to give you any and every excuse not to go forward. He's going to give you every excuse that you just need to, hey, just quit, just throw up pants. Hey, nobody else in your family that ever did anything. Why do you think you're going to do something? Why don't you be the one that breaks the mold? Why don't you actually decide, hey, you know something? I'm going to get this chain from around my neck because, look, it stops with me. It stops right here. I'm the one that's going to set the stage for generations to come. I'm the one that's actually going to show my family, show my children, show the people that I work with, show my community, show people that each and everywhere that I go exactly who I am and show them the greatness of what God has placed down on the inside of me. So, one of the things that we really need to do in this area, stop putting ourselves on unrealistic time constraints, okay? Just as I was talking about working out before we went into the break, look, even with the dream that God has given you, if God is giving you a dream to impact your community, impact your state, the nation, the world, why are we thinking, hey, this bad boy is going to manifest in 1 year, okay? I know I've done it. I know I've thought those thoughts, but look, it depends on the process and our level of allowing God to work those things out in our lives. If you're not willing to grow, if you think that, if you need to learn whatever, or get taught some new skill as far as like, say, you have a fear. You've had this fear all your life of speaking in public. But where God is actually taking you is he's going to put you in the forefront of being in front of people, but yet you have this fear of speaking in public. What are you actually doing to get over that fear? Are you watching like training videos to see how people doing it? Are you practicing with yourself in front of the bathroom mirror? Are you actually, let's just start out getting in front of your family members and starting to speak in front of them? What are you actually doing to actually break that bondage that's been holding you down from actually going into where God is actually leading you? It takes time. It takes realistic time to actually walk into where God is actually bringing you. And when you're doing this, you may just find out that one day that you wake up, you're going to find yourself talking to someone and you're going to hear something that's going to come out of your mouth and you're going to realize, oh my Lord, I'm starting to bear witness to the better version of myself. Oh, I'm talking to somebody right now. I'm talking to somebody right now in your moment. Things that start to happen, things that you start to do, things that actually start you to go towards manifesting that dream that's on the inside of you, you're really going to start realizing that the better version of who you really are, not who you think you are right now, but the better version of who you really are is going to start being made manifest. I mean, wow, that's just powerful. I think I got myself happy right now. I felt that tingle go down my own spine. Look, we're going to really stop the suicide of your dream, okay? Done, over. Let's just throw it out the window, okay? Let's just stop it right now. Because, look, so many of us right now, okay? I'm not speaking for anywhere else in the world. I'm speaking for right now for all of you that are listening. Why is it that so many of us right now, okay, why is it that so many of us are talking to our kids, hey, let's do good in school, all right, let's get the good grades, let's get the scholarship or whatever it needs, let's go to college, and let's get a good job, okay? Let's have a good job, buy you a house, and do all of that. You might say, well, what's wrong with that? Nothing's wrong with that. But why are we actually trying to promote to our kids? And think about how it was told in your life for some of you that may have gotten this type of encouragement, okay? Why is it that we continually promote our kids to actually go work for someone else instead of promoting to them, okay, start your life off working for someone, but always use that as a stepping stone to do what God's called you, to whether it is to own your own business, okay? Get out there in ministry, whatever it is, okay? You might just be amazed if you actually take the time to sit down and speak with your kids, okay? I'm talking to you parents right now. You might be amazed that God may actually speak through your kids to give you a tidbit of information to actually get you towards that level of breakthrough. Give you that tidbit of information that's actually going to spark your imagination. I mean, right now, just using for example, and I'm not putting anyone down, but with my kids, my wife and I, we're not actually raising our kids to actually go and say, hey, let's, get your education, go ahead and work for someone else. No, we're allowing them to see what we're doing in our lives, to sow a legacy for generations to come. And we're raising them with the same mentality to do things to set a legacy for their own families when they have them for generations to come. Okay? We're showing them how to be in their own individual moments. Because just like I told them, when it comes along this pathway of walking for Christ, guess what? When that day and time comes, I told them, when you stand before God to where you're being judged, guess what? It's not going to be based upon anything daddy's done. It's not going to be based upon anything mama's done. You're going to have to give your own account of what you did with Jesus. And what do I mean by that? That seed of greatness that we have. What have you done, or what are you going to do when you have to stand before God and you have to give an account of everything that he's placed on the inside of you? Okay, really, think about that right now. And how we see ourselves on so many levels as less than a flea. And like I said, I used to be that way. Look at yourself so small as like a flea, but God sees you like a giant, Lord, a giant that goes beyond anything, giant as massive or as high as the clouds. In God's eyes, that you are literally on a level that's literally one step under him. But in the spirit, we're heirs and we're joint heirs, okay, with Christ Jesus, and how we have the same way of going and walking and partaking in the full bounty of what he's called us into. I mean, we really need to start seeing ourselves how God sees us. I mean, when we get that mental state, when we actually see ourselves from the inside out instead of from the outside in, oh my Lord, there's nothing that anyone's going to be able to say. There's no type of adverse situation or circumstance. Literally, when you walk, it's like when the devil sees you get out of your bed in the morning, he's going to be like shaking his head, oh my goodness. They're up again. I don't know what to do. What are we going to do today to try to actually stop them from walking into the fullness of the dream God has given them? What are we going to do? Because every single time we attempt something, we always losing. We're always getting knocked back. Getting an extra bruise on our head, whatever it may be. What is it that's going to cause people when they see you to just look at you? And they may not verbalize it. I'm talking to somebody right now in your moment. What is it going to be when people just see you and they're going to be like, wow, that's the manifestation of true greatness right in front of me? Am I talking to you? Am I talking to you right now? Are you right now in your moment of where God's talking to you and saying, you know something? That's what it needs to be. When you're walking, when you're going through the streets, when you're in the store, when people see you, I want them to see me. And it's not because of in the beginning of a spiritual connection, but guess what? They're going to see how God's worked inside of you because if you've allowed that seed of greatness to just take growth and be made manifest and just basically just flourish. And people are going to see the results of what God took you from to where you are right now. And that's the one great catalyst that's going to draw so many people in to knowing him as their personal savior. Look, you're in your moment right now. This is Fire It Up Friday. You should be fired up. You should be ready to go and take your mountain. And look, when we come back from the break, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. But I'm excited. But stay in your moment. Welcome back to In the Moment with Cortier Kuzan on this Fire It Up Friday. And look, we're bringing it up, wrapping it up as far as like on the suicide of a dream. And, been giving you so many great examples and talking about so many fine points. And, it really just came to me to, a lot of us right now, we just don't realize that how we were talking about doubt and breaking it down as far as like being a portion of, what it is that causes your dream to just be stopped. What causes it to, the suicide of your dream. And, a main portion of that is how we said doubting yourself. I mean, we know this, whether you realize it or not, okay? God cannot do anything in our life unless we have ourselves open and willing to do what he's instructing us to do, okay? If God instructs us to do something and we don't do it and it's for our benefit, then guess what? It just doesn't happen. Well, it's the same thing with the enemy, okay? The only way something can be made manifest in your life in an ill way. Now, I know there are adverse circumstances that happen because of people out there, things that happen as far as like an economy. I know that, okay? That's a given. But the main things that really play a part of having the real effect, the hard-hitting, hit you at home type of effects on your life, is that a lot of times if we open ourselves up to, those stray thoughts or doing those things that we shouldn't do, we become what? Our own worst enemy. We really do. And I mean, it's natural for each and every one of us to actually want to be comfortable, but the only way that we can actually succeed in life is to, be stretched and to grow further to prepare for what we're walking into. You got to get stretched. I mean, it's like this old character, my son would like this if he was here, like there's this superhero called Plastic Man. And this guy can stretch into all shapes and sizes and, but he'll come back to his original position of what he was. Well, guess what? When we get stretched, when we go out to all shapes and sizes, when we think that we can't go any further in life, when it seems like we're about to snap, what ends up happening is that we've been snapped, the pressure's been on us, but when we snap back to the shape, we snap back to the shape of who we really are, not who we started out to be. Oh, I just caught somebody right now in that moment on that. When you get stretched out so far to where you can't get to where it seems like you can't go any further, and you make it and you just snap back to where it seems like you've got that step into that first level of success to realize a small portion of your dream, you're going to start seeing that when you actually get stretched back into that original state of who you thought you were, God's going to show you who you truly are and how he constructed you to be. So don't allow that self-doubt. Don't allow yourself to get in your way. And then look, most of the people out there, we kill our own dreams. We can say, well, because of this person, because I didn't get the opportunity, because they didn't give me the promotion, because of the education, because of the family that I grew up in, because of my skin color, because of my gender, because I'm too fat, too small, whatever it is that you want to throw out there, we are going to let those so-called excuses stop us from moving forward. Now, look, I'm going to share 2 quick things with you on this, all right? I could have used these as excuses to just stop and just sat down like so many people and not have done anything. You're listening to me right now and you're like, well, he can go ahead and say all of these different things, and he shared a couple things, but he really doesn't know what it is to go through certain stressful situations. Now, how would you have reacted if this happened to you? How would you have reacted if, and this is what happened to me, being in a deal to actually acquire 5 restaurants, getting 1 hour, I didn't say 1 week, I didn't say 1 year, 1 hour before actually getting to the point of setting up to sign the contracts before becoming the owner of 5 restaurants. And you've got an investor that's there to back you. You've been communicating with the investor. You got everything lined up with the investor. And then 1 hour before you're about to get on with the big wigs of the corporation to finalize all of this stuff, the investor walks out on you. Yeah, that happened. The investor walked out on me 1 hour before sealing the deal of having these restaurants. How would that have rocked your world? Or you better believe it rocked me. You better believe that the enemy started telling me things about, well, you really didn't have the skills or the ability or the know-how to actually start running your a multi-million-dollar company from that point in time. It really happened. So look, how would that have come to play in your life? As I said before, I'm not going to share things with you based upon me just giving you information or something that I may have looked up. I'm letting you know this is based upon first-hand experience of things that have happened in my own life, okay? These aren't things that are made up, okay? We go through certain situations every single day. But what is it that you're going to do or how you're going to respond to those different situations, okay? What is it to where when you are looking at yourself, are you going to allow yourself to be overwhelmed by how your plan is being executed, or think about, where you're going if you don't have the money in your own mind for whatever venture that you're on, or who is it that you think that should be helping you, or who do you think that you need to have help with? I mean, are you going to start allowing your brain to start playing tricks on you? What is it that's actually going to stop you from really going into the fullness of what God has in store for you? And, I would definitely have to stay into that, and how one of the greatest things that I love as far as from the Bible is when you go into Ezekiel, okay? When you go to Ezekiel, when you're actually talking about the whole thing of when he's in front of him, and then all of a sudden, he's right there and showing him the vision of all of these dry bones that are laid out in the field. And then all of a sudden he starts to say, son of man, can these bones live? And then, of course, he's stumped. He doesn't know what to say in the beginning. And then he goes, and then God says again, Son of man, can these bones live? And then, of course, the only thing he could come up with, God, okay? When you don't know and God's telling you, asking you a question, guess what? Do just like him. God, And then God will give you the instruction. And then he actually told him to speak over these bones. And what happened? These bones started to come together. Flesh started to come on these bones, and these bones started to become alive. We know that represented the children of Israel at that time, but look at your dream that's right in front of you. Look at your dream that you may think that's dead right in front of you. And that's God that's actually telling you right now, son, daughter, can this dream yet live? And you're looking at everything that's happened in your life. You're looking at every circumstance that's happening in your life. You're looking possibly right now, you're sitting on the edge of your bed. You've got your radio on. You may be driving, wherever you're at. And you probably have your head in your hands. And God is just speaking to you in your spirit. Can this dream yet live? If God asks you a question, God's letting you know, yes, this dream yet still has life. But, don't allow that to be determined by what it looks like right before your eyes. Let him show you from the inside out. Stop addressing things all the time from the outside in, okay? We've got to receive the truth, okay? You may be having things that are happening in your life that are factual, but we have got to receive the truth, and that truth is based upon God's word. I mean, look, if you have the indwelling of the Holy Spirit on the inside of you, the Spirit of truth, he's going to lead you to where you need to, lead, God, and direct you. But look, stop allowing these different things to come into your life about somebody else can do it better. I'm not experienced enough. I'm not educated enough. I don't know the right people. I don't speak well enough. I don't have the time. If God has given you the dream, catch on to this. Catch on to this right now in your moment. If God has given you the dream, then guess what? That means God thinks that you're more than able and he trusts you. Start trusting yourself. Start trusting the process. Stop causing your dream to go into a state of suicide. Trust and know that God sees the greatness, the potential of everything that he has in store for you. God sees so many of us, and he reaches us when we're at our lowest point, because he's not looking at our now. He's looking at where he has placed us and where he is actually going to guide us, or where we should be. He looks at the end from the beginning, and guess what? It's already done in his sight. And look, on this Fire It Up Fridays, I know you're going to carry this into each and every moment that you have on the course of this day. Grab a hold of the dream and know that you are more than able in Christ Jesus. So continue on Fire It Up Friday. And if you do not conquer that self, guess what? The self will conquer you. But guess what? On this point, believe, achieve, and receive, and stay in your moment. Take care, and God bless you.